Uh, is there, well, it's too late now. No, I was going to suggest we just get around a table or something, but that's all right. Filmed. We are live. That was pretty good for you, Pat. You don't say jokes very often. I am definitely live. You can hear me echoing. Like a cabin. I needed John Davis the other day. I was on the gate lift of the truck that was on the bed, and the hydraulics gave out. And it came out from the truck, from the box truck. It was not real high, about 4 feet high. Came out and went straight down. And here I am standing on this big old 8-foot rack of bread. That would break my leg. Or just, yeah, straight on the concrete. At least I didn't fall. I'm too old for that. And John come fix the hydraulics. Well, the percentages for the salaries are her. She gives them. I'm saying that's the cool. I stayed at a Holiday Inn last night.
Randall? Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. You want me to repeat that for the live audience? Okay, so for the live audience, the purpose of this is to work with Chief Randall in creating an advanced life support enhancement system for the town of Swansboro. In other words, we would like to have a paramedic support in Swansboro, particularly for our heart and stroke victims, because the county has moved the ambulance out of Swansboro and their times are way above the 9-minute mark, almost 50%, actually 50% above the 9-minute mark at 13 and some odd seconds above the 9-minute mark. So with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Randall to give us his proposal.
All right. So after Tuesday's meeting, the questions that were provided and the direction and what I kind of clarified and reviewed from everybody, I've gone back and revised Plan A and B and trimmed it down. So they're essentially the same in the mix of they are all firefighter paramedics. Plan A would be paramedics that we train to become firefighters in-house, so the cost savings is a little bit present. And then Plan B is hiring certified firefighters. After the clarification on the transitioning plan or using attrition and current staffing, and having no current vacancies right now, we have taken the plans and separated them into a 3-year phase to where we hire one a year because they are additional positions, but Plan 3 and 4, A-T and B-T, are transition plans to where we would get everything up front and work the transition back to pre-ALS enhancement levels of staffing costs. As natural attrition occurs over the period that somebody leaves, the vacancy for firefighter EMT would stay vacant. That firefighter paramedic would actually just cover the role. So currently, at our staffing model, we do not have the ability to immediately transition to a paramedic level. We would require 2 years to send personnel to get trained. So Plan A would be to add an additional and utilize part-time for the next 3 years. Plan A-T or B-T would be hire 3 up front, and as people leave naturally, replace that vacancy with one that we've already got from this plan. So that's what the breakdown is. The cost of doing that is on page 2. So the first 24-25, this would be a half year. We would start the positions January 4th, so the personnel costs wouldn't take effect until January. We would work on running the hiring process as close as to November, December timeframe so that everybody would be prepared, and we would incorporate any required like boarding into the hiring process so that essentially January 4th when they come to work they're ready to go. The 25-26 is the full year salaries and benefits included with overtime, and this is putting 1 paramedic per shift 24 hours a day. So we would only need 3. We would be able to incorporate them onto a 24-48 shift as we're currently working, which would give us the 24-hour coverage. So this was, after the clarification from the Tuesday night meeting, kind of the plan that we come up to work with.
So, Jacob, if I might, on Plan AT,
yep.
It seems to me, if that's a transition back to current staffing levels, then the 265 for 2025, 2026 makes sense to me because you're hiring 3 people in addition to your current staffing, so you would have this additional $265,000 cost.
Correct. You're talking 26 and 27.
26, 27, and 27, 28, I would expect that cost to drop, even accounting for inflation or pay raises. I would assume by 2028 that you're fully back to current predicted staffing levels is what I might say, because you're looking out at 27, 28. So I wouldn't expect that 265 to still be 265. I'd expect that to be a much lower number.
I understand, but as the natural attrition occurs, I can't commit. Like, I want you to be able to see the number of what it would be. I can't say that, hey, we're going to lose
too that would go down. I just, for clarity of the numbers, left it consistent, and it would.
So what do you average on a year? How many are you, well, you've only been here a year, right?
Yep, so well, a little over a year, we've actually maintained staffing other than 2 mid-level
So,
managers.
and so if you think about the, let's cut that in half. Let's say one of those folks was lost because of you, the other person was lost because of their own personal whatevers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay, right? You're going to have conflict, you're going to have loss. I mean, I think from a projection standpoint, you have to be willing to make projections. And so I think 26, 27, and 27, 28 need to show a projection, not hey, I'm not going to lose anybody. Because you are the cream of the crop if you are not losing anybody for 2 years. So, and great on you, but I think you need to be reasonable and put a projection in there.
Yeah, so if that's the case, 27, 28 would be 0. It would be a reverse plan. So then 26, 27, down at the bottom, your transition plan would be the 218.
Okay.
So essentially just reverse
all right.
the top. Yes, sir.
Your numbers here, you're giving us the absolute top worst case.
Correct.
Okay. That's just, as long as you're painting a bleak picture when you come to funds, I get you, and good judgment call. All right, thanks.
So the desired and optimal plan would be to post the positions for both certified and non-certified firefighters, so it would actually be a mixed methodology, so the cost is probably going to be lower than the 280 in the end, and then the attrition rate would go down. Page 3 is the related equipment. So by the time we get the turnout gear and everything that's required for the position, it's just shy of 9,000. Just a well-rounded number is the 9,000 range. And then the equipment that we really cannot control is the upfront cost of the 85. That's about what we're going to need for the ALS level supplies, cardiac monitors, drugs, and stuff of that nature. And then that's going to average with the cardiac monitor and the supplies in which we're using about 45,000. Year 5, the way that the plan works, the cardiac monitors would actually be on a flex plan for payment. So year 5, that would actually drop even more because the cardiac monitors that we would have to get would be paid off if we didn't pay for them up front. But the more feasible is to have a flex payment plan on those.
On the 27,000, and again, I'm going to give you a hard time on your numbers. You got 27,000 spending up front. I'd be very surprised if you made it 3 years without having to update or upgrade. And the other question I would ask is you can fill in the blank here for me, that there's a Schedule X drugs. Are paramedics allowed to administer any of the Schedule, whether it's A or C drugs that have to be secured in a lock?
Yes. So Schedule 1, 2, 3, 4.
So do we have that storage built into that 9,000?
That's in the equipment.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
Yeah, no, we would have narcotics. We're required to have 2 different ones for both pain as well as benzos for like seizure patients. They're DEA mandated and state, so we would have to have a whole narcotic. Okay.
But I would also plan that you're going to have minimally in 27, 28, you're going to have additional expenses.
For personnel, so this is upfront additional, not what we would budget in the regular budget. We would incorporate the other expenditures that would be recurring costs. So this is if we're starting from scratch, we're adding the people. This is not a maintenance.
I got it.
That's not maintenance.
All right, that's fair. All right.
The ALS related cost is the maintenance recurring for cardiac monitors and drugs, because right now we have a very minimal EMS budget. So this is what would be recurring for that. So the personnel related cost is just for the people we are adding, and then we would incorporate them into our current budget to where we replace on our replacement schedule.
Yeah, go.
So this is related to what John was saying. replacement of equipment or upgrading equipment, do you have an idea of what the life expectancy would be? Like you buy a brand new piece of equipment, how long, I don't know, maybe a heart monitor or whatever would last, or a defibrillator or whatever the case may be?
The cardiac monitors, they recommend 5-year replacements, which would be the phased in if we did. However, they will go for 10 years, and they actually just come out with the new model of a life path monitor, so that there's about a 10 to 15-year range before the new software comes out. They recommend 5 years for having complete replacement, but that's also into a phased if we were to purchase or upgrade.
So the initial cost you feel comfortable with lasting for at least 5 years then? Like the $27,000, for instance, if we were to,
The 27 is like personnel-related equipment, turnout
Okay.
gear, which is 5 years, which we would get up front and then put that onto our turnout gear replacement plans and so the ALS equipment down at the bottom is where the cardiac monitoring equipment and stuff of that nature would come from.
The 45,000.
so is that supplies, like replenishing supplies, like if you go on calls and you're going to use stuff, you got to replace it?
Correct.
So that's what that is?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good. Pat, you good? All right, all right.
So page 4 wraps everything up into one, like sum for each of the fiscal years. So up front, the transitioning plan where we do everything up front, which provides that consistent person from the get-go. You're looking about 238 to 245 a year, 310 and 325, despite any projections of attrition occurs. So essentially, the bottom two would just reverse to the top as the price decreases. So there's a couple questions about which one kind of leaves the anonymity out of the county, or what's the best plan moving forward. In my opinion, when we're presenting one to the PRC for approval, the transition plan where we provide everybody up front would be the strongest candidate when it comes to the table, just because it's showing like dedication and personnel is consistently there versus, you're hoping to hire people in the 3 years. But whatever the direction of y'all are, we would go with. So.
And is that plan AT?
AT and BT. So BT is the higher of the two, which that is we hired 3 certified firefighters, but I believe using that number as a cap, we're going to have a mixed methodology of people that we purchase. So they're probably going to be purchased higher. There's probably going to be a couple paramedics that we have to train in-house that won't be certified from the get-go, so they're going to be a little less expensive versus the firefighter medic.
And once we get this program rolling, can we put incentives and training opportunities in place for our current staff? Again, I know that I feel what Joe's saying, and if we can do things, to me, I see this as a growth opportunity for our junior firefighters, or even our mid-season firefighters. It's an opportunity for them to advance. So, Jacob, are you recommending plan AT or BT? What is your preferred?
So BT, the numbers, the budget number, the top cap, making that a maximum. Understanding the mixed methodology that we might have a non-certified firefighter hired that we train. So having BT as the plan recommendation gives us a cap not to exceed. Obviously, we're going to work and try to lower the amount of money that we use, but BT gives us the opportunity to advertise both firefighter medic and non-firefighter medic, where we are training them in-house. So there's cost savings in the salary.
So you recommending BT or AT?
BT.
So you're recommending BT.
So AT would just be adding 3 paramedics on top of the, excuse me, on top of the current staffing levels.
Both AT and BT, all 4 of them add personnel.
But
Plan
BT
A-
they would have a dual purpose.
AT and BT transition back to current or nominal staffing.
Correct. AT and BT are both dual credentialed. AT we are training in-house, BT comes certified. There is a little, you can see the price difference. But I feel like our applicant pool, having a mixed methodology of both is gonna open the applicant pool up, and then we have a training program in-house to get them certified within a year. So they'll be credentialed, and they can still fight fire, based on our check offering.
Go ahead.
Jacob, you think you can, are those people readily available in this community, in this area?
I've got a few that have already inquired about when this might occur, if it will occur. It's all about where people want to work and the culture they want to work in.
Sure.
So I'm very optimistic on the hiring.
You're saying that your culture is just that good over there? I like it.
People want to
I
come
like
over.
it.
I got a stack of applications on my desk that people turn in all the time for volunteers, part-time. I don't have any full-time spots.
So guys, Jacob's recommending, sorry, you had a question. Go ahead. And then I got Pat. Go ahead. You're next. You're next. Go.
Just quick question. Based on your recommendation, what does the talent pool look like right now for what you're looking for? I mean, basically, what the county's been telling us is they can't hire people. So it's got me a little, you got to see, that's a little concern. I mean, what's your feel for the market there? The other one is, I'm not worried about the attrition and stuff like that, because I'll say this, every young police officer, most of them I talk to, even the ones in Jacksonville, they seem to spend the first 10 years building a resume. And that means going from department to department and basically shopping the training they're looking for to build the resume. I say that you're offering a young person with a basic degree in fire science and stuff the ability to get a lot of training done with, especially if you're doing it in-house. So I think that's going to be a magnet for the talent pool. And the fact that they get to live in Swansboro, if they can afford it, it'd be great, right? Last question I got for you, and is because it comes with maintenance and costs. Your recommendation, does it put an additional tap on the responses we have with our fire platforms?
So we're already running all the EMS level calls anyway.
Yeah.
We've already increased.
The fire truck's got to go out the thing every call.
Correct. We have smaller vehicles that we would utilize in this program, which would allow the fire engine to stay available. They would respond for higher acuity calls that would need manpower on, but the smaller vehicle with less wear and tear than the $1 million apparatus more frequently. So
Okay. Last thing, I guess. Which of these plans gives us the most autonomy without being messed with by the county too much on, like, hey, sending us to every response that happens to border between here and Hubert?
So we're not replacing, we're supplementing and strengthening. And while we would function under their medical director, so they still control us, the response to the district that we provide would come in the MOU if there's any agreement there. So right now, it's just our service district who would respond to the White Oak Community Fire District that we already serve, as well as the town of Swansboro. There's been no furthering the district out as of yet, so that would all come later between the control.
It sort of goes to a previous question I asked though too, because if if whatever plan we choose, if we choose a plan where their fire platform's got to go too, now we're doing mutual support with our fire platform outside the city.
Correct.
A lot. So, these are all effects. What's the environment we're in? This decision's going to affect what we really pay in the long run. And so you took that in your recommendation, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So that's the smaller vehicle, we wouldn't have the wear and tear as much. The fire calls we still respond to out in the county area. I mean, that's on automatic aid agreements, but the autonomy from the county of them dictating and controlling what we do would come in MOUs or ILAs that we establish in the next phase or so.
Just so I'm not misunderstood by folks that might be tuning in to watch this, want to pick up the recording later on. I'm not against mutual support. Just trying to do it very, very wisely so we can maintain as much autonomy with this resource as we possibly can. And that's going to be part of what goes into my decision on this one.
Oh, and I'll echo that, Doug, we're having to do this because we don't believe that there's enough support for the citizens of Swansboro. So that's very critical to me, is that we're doing this as the chief just said, to supplement the county so that the Swansboro residents' medical needs are met. Pat, you're up. BT.
So why did you change from A to AT?
BT.
BT,
BT is what he's recommending.
okay, BT. Because the cost, if I look at the cost, I mean, it's almost equal.
Correct. So BT gives us a max cap that allows us to open to both certified and non-certified paramedics. Like non-certified fire paramedics, I should say. While the cost is a little bit different, we can, if I go after Plan AT, it's kind of limiting me to the salary ranges of a non-certified firefighter versus the certified. So we would train them in-house at a cheaper cost. It opens the applicant pool up.
Right, but Tuesday you said Plan A was your recommendation.
So we were, after the consideration from the board and hearing kind of the direction and wanting to transition and the viewpoints going forward, this Plan A was actually not the Plan A that was presented on Monday. That was a full paramedic plan.
Okay.
So they're all revised to kind of accommodate what we discussed on Tuesday night.
Okay, thank you.
I've got a quick thing. So I understand mutual aid, and we want to definitely participate in that. But the Swansboro taxpayers, like John was saying, are paying for it. So obviously, I would think our citizens, we'd focus on them, for lack of a better way of putting it. So suppose our apparatus was all out on a mutual aid outside the city limits, and we had something that really needed attention inside. Would you leave that mutual aid, or how would you handle that?
So we have response plans set up in place. There's recall policies, like if we get stuck out on a fire. Myself or the furniture store, for example, we had staff that come in to help backfill. Volunteers come back to the station to backfill. We don't have any volunteer paramedics currently, so the ALS, we would have to commit this one individual to staying within our district, or like myself or somebody else coming back in to backfill it. But we have steps in place to ensure that our district is covered. If we are out on something that we cannot get back, we can request other engine companies to come in and stand by for us while we augment our coverage.
So whose discretion would it be to send somebody out on a mutual aid? Would it be your decision? Would the county say, hey, you've got this in this?
That's the MOU that he was talking about that we have to do in the future.
So we would,
And you would sign on that, we would
and
approve.
that would bind us to
Yes.
stand.
Yeah, now the fire side, we have automatic aid agreements already in place because we've got personnel that comes to us from other districts, and then we go back to them to provide coverage for ISO ratings and fire protection.
So this is for the folks that are listening, the taxpayers out there, the people that hopefully will vote for us in the future. And I have voted for us and supported us.
Are you campaigning?
Well, yeah, I am. I've got 3 years. Let it go, John. The point being here is, it's the mutual aid, but it is the fact, and I hate to say the reason why we're here, but, I think you all, if that follow politics, know why we're here. Mismanagement at the county level, and I'll say it plain and simple, of the asset. What this does, the benefit we're giving the Swansboro citizens on this is that we have more control. Here's the thing. Here's what the county won't be able to do in the future. Take our asset and redeploy it somewhere else permanently like they've done to us this time. And I just want to draw everyone's attention to this and remind them, we had the worst response times of all the districts on the county's data. And they took an asset from us with the worst time and put it in an adjacent zone with a better response time than at the time we had. I just don't see the logic in any of that. And that's why, here's the only thing, it's going to cost us an average of what, $300,000. I'm just going to ballpark it to 350 or to 370,000, right? By the time we hit 2027, yeah. And town managers informed me that one good thing was why he took this job, and is that the fact that the town is growing. The town is going to continue to grow over the next 5 to 7 to 10, 15 years, hopefully. Here's what we don't know. We don't know what inflation is going to do. So this is the problem, that's probably going to keep us nagging. It's a conscience on our shoulder. What's going to happen next? But everybody's wondering right now what's going to happen next. But we can't, what I don't want to wonder is, how am I going to take care of the people of Swansboro? And I think, Chief Randall, you put forth a plan that logically takes us through step by step, year by year. And we can't know everything, but life is about decisions, and you have to make decisions not knowing absolutely everything. Otherwise, you get stuck in paralysis of analysis. So you've taken, and I'd like to say this in my previous job before I took this one, if you got 80%, that's more than good enough. And I think you've given us enough data and information and knowledge that well exceeds 80, I would say probably about 85%, which was what I was looking for today. So any other discussion I've got is pretty much done. And then I will just say it's a great job. And I'm going to just sit back and rest my case and let everybody else talk for a while, I guess. Thanks. Yes, fine.
So, I've seen in the past, you hire an employee, and they say, yeah, I want to do this, I want to do this. So, I don't know if anybody's considered the fact that you might hire a paramedic that says they will want to be trained in-house as a firefighter. And then you go to that paramedic a year later and say, okay, we have a need for a firefighter. Oh, well, I just want to be a paramedic. I don't really want to be a firefighter. Yeah. That's that happens all the time out in the business world, and so it's just a consideration for people to think about when we're looking at A and B.
That's a really good point.
How do you word the contract? Word the contract.
Job requirement.
All right, guys, I'm going to reel this in. It's 8:30, and I think Chief Randall has listened to the board and gone back and restructured everything and presented you guys a plan. Chief Randall has recommended to us Plan B-T. So with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve Plan B-T, and let's go from there. If we get a second, we'll open it up for discussion. If I get a second, we'll go to discussion.
Second motion.
Do I have-
Second.
All right, did I get a motion?
Motion.
All right. Did you get a first and a second? All right,
Yeah. I thought we were in discussion
okay,
already.
very good, thank you. All right, very good, thank you. All right,
Give
so,
it to Doug, he's all right.
all right, so we have a motion and we have a second. I'd like to open it up for discussion. Any further discussion on this topic?
I want to hear from the HR specialist here, what gaps and holes we might not have covered down on, because we did the finance, we did the tactical, we've done the operational. What do you say about HR?
Well, we don't have the position descriptions yet, so the first step was to get the county to approve it. Once we get the position descriptions, I'll look at them, and then we can go from there.
And John, I mean, obviously, in your role, you're an HR specialist in your own right. What comments might you have? Use the microphone, please.
I think Pat said it really well. Once the county approves what path we take forward, then we modify our own job classification plan, update the salary schedule, update the job descriptions, and then we'll work on the budget. You all have to decide if it happens in the current fiscal year. Obviously, we need to amend the current fiscal year budget, because it all kind of depends on the path the county takes. But at some point, you're going to have to amend the budget to increase those salary and
That's where the rubber's gonna meet the road. Yes, sir.
That's right. So just be prepared for that.
All right. Joe, any comments, final or new or anything?
No, I'm just trying to make all these numbers work over here in my head.
All right.
But,
Bill, any further comment? You're all good. Doug, any final comment?
No.
All right, if nobody has any more comments, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor?
all right,
Aye.
All right, I heard unanimous, but I'll ask anyway. Any opposed? All right, we have unanimous. I do have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, for discussion, Jacob, thank you. Thank you for your hard work, extra hours. I know you were putting a lot of time in on this. John, as town manager, thank you for working with Jacob to make sure all of the board thoughts got brought in. Elisa, thank you for coming in on a Saturday morning and bringing Bojangles. Thank you much.
Excellent coffee.
All right, any other final comments? All right, all in favor to adjourn?
all right.
Any opposed? Have a good weekend.
He's hobbled, man, he's old.
Hey, 3 years, get you over the head.
Wow.
It gets better as the day goes along, but I think it's just I'm old, Joe.
You're old, man. I know,
We used